The MG-42, possibly the best machine gun ever created. Today, we'll explore the engineering crisis that led to its creation, reveal why and how it outperformed every single Allied weapon in the harshest conditions, show what it was like to be part of the crew operating it, and discover how this 80-year-old design continues to dominate modern battlefields. Let's begin. In early 1941, German arms factories faced a production crisis. The MG-34 machine gun, though reliable and deadly, took over 150 man-hours to make and cost around 327 Reichsmarks per unit. Its complex design used finely machined parts that required skilled labor and careful assembly. Replacement parts didn't always fit between guns. Even barrels and bolt heads often had to be hand-fitted to match each specific weapon, which made field repairs slow and difficult. In contrast, the MG-42 was engineered for mass production. Most parts were stamped from sheet steel and assembled with spot welding instead of complex machining. This cut man-hours to just 75, while reducing cost to about 250 Reichsmarks. The MG-42 was also slightly lighter. A loaded MG-34 weighed about 12.1 kilograms, while it came in around 11.6 kilograms. Every part of it was made to the exact same standard. This meant any component could be taken out and used in another gun without any adjustments. By early 1942, the MG-42 entered production and soon saw its first real combat test in the North African campaign, where units of the Afrika Korps deployed it against British forces. The desert environment was harsh. Temperatures soared above 45 degrees Celsius, while the older MG-34s jammed frequently, forcing crews to spend more time cleaning than shooting. The MG-42 excelled. Its rugged, simplified construction made it far more reliable in the dust and heat, about 1,200 rounds per minute, which gave them a clear advantage in suppressing enemy positions. British troops who faced it for the first time were shocked by its unique sound. The firing rate was so high that individual shots blurred into a terrifying, continuous roar. At the time, British soldiers were using a light machine gun called the Bren. It was accurate and dependable, but it fired from a small 30-round magazine. That meant soldiers had to stop and reload after just a few seconds of firing. The MG-42, by contrast, used belts that carried up to 250 rounds at a time. These belts were packed in metal boxes and fed directly into the gun, allowing it to fire much longer without stopping. In real battles, this made a huge difference. During the fighting in Tunisia, one British sergeant described the experience by saying, "We fired 5 magazines while they laid down 5 minutes of hell." This strong performance in the desert wasn't just about the MG-42's fire rate or long ammunition belts. It also came from how the weapon was built internally. It used a roller lock bolt system. When fired, the bolt and barrel briefly recoiled together before 2 steel rollers locked the bolt in place. Only after a short movement would the bolt unlock and eject the casing. Unlike the MG-34's finely tuned rotating bolt, the MG-42's simpler, loose tolerance mechanism proved far more resistant to sand and dirt. This same design would prove its worth in opposite conditions. In Russia, where temperatures dropped below -30 degrees Celsius, the roller lock continued to function when gas-operated weapons froze solid. By the end of the war, total production exceeded 400,000 units, manufactured by multiple German factories, including Mauser and Steyr. While Allied machine guns had fixed, unchangeable fire rates, the German soldier could actually adjust the MG-42's speed to fit the battle. This was thanks to 2 smart features: a muzzle booster and interchangeable bolts. The muzzle booster, placed at the front of the barrel, captured gas from each shot to help push the bolt backward, ensuring smooth cycling even in dirty conditions. To control the fire rate, crews could swap the bolt. Lighter bolts gave the full 1,500 rounds per minute, while heavier ones, paired with stronger springs, slowed it to around 900. This allowed the MG-42 to be tuned for different terrains, faster for open areas like deserts, and slower, more controlled fire in forests or cities. To match its high rate of fire, the MG-42 featured a quick-change barrel system that kept it running during long battles. With a simple lever on the side, crews could swap a hot barrel in just a few seconds, no tools needed, rotating them regularly to prevent overheating. At 1,200 rounds per minute, barrels had to be changed every few hundred shots. This system allowed German teams to maintain steady fire, with one barrel in action while others cooled, making the MG-42 highly effective in prolonged combat. To keep this high-performance weapon operating smoothly, it was manned by a well-trained 2-man team, the gunner and the loader. The gunner focused on aiming, firing, and managing barrel changes, while the loader stayed close, feeding belts of ammunition, carrying spare barrels, and handling barrel swaps during combat. Both soldiers carried essential tools and parts, and their ammunition came in 250-round belts packed in metal boxes. It was the loader's job to ensure the belt fed smoothly into the gun. Any jam could be deadly. When it was time to change barrels, the loader had one ready to go, allowing the gunner to stay locked on target. German infantry doctrine centered on protecting this duo, as the machine gun was the squad's primary source of firepower. In close-range combat, MG-42 crews also adjusted their equipment to match the terrain. When moving through tight urban areas or narrow streets, they often used 50-round drum-style containers called Gurttrommel, which were lighter and easier to carry than full-length 250-round belts. In the Normandy hedgerows, German paratroopers used Gurttrommel drums for quick movement between positions, while at strong points like Omaha Beach, defenders relied on multiple 250-round belt boxes for continuous fire. One such defender was Heinrich Severloh, a 20-year-old German who fired for 9 straight hours during the invasion. Historians estimate he fired over 12,000 rounds that morning, helping cause the heavy American losses on that beach. As a result of the intense machine gun fire from positions like his, soldiers from the US 1st and 29th Infantry Divisions suffered around 2,000 to 2,500 killed, wounded, or missing by the end of the day. The MG-42 fired the 7.92 by 57mm Mauser cartridge, the same standard rifle round used by German infantry. This cartridge had a high muzzle velocity, typically over 750 meters per second, giving it strong stopping power at medium ranges. In battle, it allowed the MG-42 to not only mow down infantry, but also damage lightly armored vehicles. To maximize its effectiveness, German factories also produced several specialized types of this ammunition. Armor-piercing rounds were designed to penetrate light vehicles or enemy cover, capable of going through up to 11 millimeters of steel at 100 meters. Tracer rounds, on the other hand, contained a small chemical charge that ignited when fired, leaving a glowing path in the air. This visual feedback helped gunners correct their aim in real time, especially during intense combat. These technical advantages became brutally evident in real-world combat, none more so than in the Battle of Hürtgen Forest, where the MG-42 proved devastatingly effective. The battle, which lasted from September 1944 to February 1945, became one of the bloodiest and most grueling engagements on the Western Front, and the MG-42 played a central role in that devastation. In the thick, tangled woods, German defenders constructed hidden bunkers and ambush points, allowing MG-42 crews to strike American forces at dangerously close range. The dense forest disoriented advancing units, while poor radio communication left them vulnerable. To make matters worse, the MG-42's terrifyingly fast rate of fire echoed through the trees, making it nearly impossible for US troops to locate its position. The result was catastrophic: over 33,000 American casualties. The MG-42's effect on Allied soldiers went far beyond its physical destruction. It left a deep psychological scar. Its terrifying rate of fire and distinctive sound created such fear that the US Army produced training films to calm its own troops. One of these, titled Automatic Weapons, American versus German, tried to downplay the weapon's danger by claiming that the MG-42's bark is worse than its bite. The film featured staged demonstrations comparing American and German guns, with the narrator assuring soldiers that the MG-42's high rate of fire reduced its accuracy. But frontline veterans who had faced the weapon in real combat situations strongly disagreed. They knew firsthand how deadly and precise it could be. The psychological impact was so deep that even decades after the war, some veterans reported that the sound of ripping fabric or certain machinery could trigger vivid flashbacks, haunted by the memory of the MG-42's roar. In the final year of the war, German engineers introduced a simplified version of the MG-42, known as the MG-45. Designed to cut production costs and save materials, the MG-45 aimed to retain the original weapon's performance while making it easier and cheaper to manufacture. It featured a roller-delayed blowback system instead of the MG-42's recoil-operated mechanism, which reduced the number of moving parts and required less precision machining. This change also lowered the weapon's overall weight to about 9 kilograms and increased its rate of fire to an astonishing 1,800 rounds per minute. However, due to the collapse of German industry and the approaching end of the war, only a small number of MG-45 prototypes were ever built in 1944 and early 1945. After World War II, the MG-42's design lived on through adaptations by several countries. The most direct continuation came in West Germany, where the gun was modified to fire the NATO standard 7.62 by 51mm cartridge. This updated version was first designated as the MG-1 and later evolved into the MG-3. Despite these changes, the MG-3 retained the MG-42's core features: its basic layout, roller lock mechanism, and blistering rate of fire. Modifications included a new barrel, an updated feed system, and reinforced components to handle the different ammunition. It also received modern upgrades, such as adjustable sights and improved bipods. The MG-42's influence even crossed the Atlantic. In 1957, the US military adopted the M60 machine gun, which borrowed heavily from the German design. Key features like the quick-change barrel and belt feed system were directly inspired by the MG-42. securing its legacy in American service as well. Germany manufactured approximately 400,000 MG-42s between 1942 and 1945, with peak production reaching around 1,200 units per month. The human cost of this weapon was staggering. Conservative estimates suggest it was responsible for hundreds of thousands of casualties. At Omaha Beach alone, just a handful of MG-42s inflicted thousands of casualties in a single morning. Even today, the MG-42's DNA lives on. Its core design principles, extreme reliability, modular construction, and overwhelming firepower set the standard for modern machine guns. Whether in the form of the German MG-3, the American M60, or other NATO derivatives, the legacy of the MG-42 still echoes on battlefields across the globe.